Okay, in today's class, I'm going to explain in JavaScript how to display the objects. In the previous class, I have explained that how to display the objects and object properties. So that moment we try to, we have written the code properly to display the object properties. Okay. But at the time of displaying of a object, so the code, whatever we have written, that moment we are getting the output as object. Okay. So this is not the way to display the object properties. Okay. Inside of the object, whatever the contents are there, they are not displaying here. So generally it is a generic text. So it is showing that object. So because of that moment, what we do here, what we did, we have created an object, okay, by constant keyword. Somebody else asked me that why should we use constant? You can also use the let keyword. There's no any problem because let is so comfort to create a object here, okay. So object is nothing but it looks like a variable. So a constant let keywords mostly used to create the variables. So let keyword also will be used. Okay. So if you run this, there is no any problem. Okay, there is no any problem. So once object is created here, but while if you want to display the object and its contents, I want to get display of these literals. Literals means properties and with values on the screen. That moment, what I did here, one variable I have created with the let keyword, and that variable is assigned with a person object. Okay. So that moment, whenever I try to call, means that whenever that variable is passed to inner.html property as a value. So by this method, get element by ID method. Okay, I told you that this is the mostly used JavaScript HTML method, which will be used to find out the element. Okay, element. That element will be found by this demo attribute. Demo means property. Okay, and this inner HTML, this property will be used to find out the HTML content, content of HTML element. Okay, so by that we are getting this object, but this is not the right way to get the object. Okay, we need to get these property values means key these three key value pairs. I want to see on the screen. So this is the code to create to get display on objects on the screen. So generally this total code I have explained up to here. This is the HTML code to display the JavaScript content objects. This is the JavaScript objects, the content written in H1 header element. And this is also one subheading, okay, to display which is kept in the paragraph element. Okay, the ID is an attribute that is assigned with a value demo. Okay, it is a string, and that is used in the get element by ID method to find out the HTML element, and inner HTML property will be used to access that HTML content. Okay. So finally we are getting the result like this. So it is not the way. So then how to show these three literals on the screen. These three literals are the values, property values of person object. So that moment, this code to be converted into JSON. JSON means JavaScript object notation. Let us see. Okay. Let us see how. First of all, I want to remove this total code. So again, we write the code. Otherwise, simply we keep somewhat code there. That will do the right best. Okay. So that moment, whenever we are looking at this type of object format, but I am not getting actually the um, literals of the object means key value pairs, I am not able to get on the screen. So that moment, little bit code change we can do here. Do one thing. You little bit write the code like this: JSON JavaScript object notation dot stringify. So it is a function, okay? Stringify in bracket, keep this person. Person is what object, okay? So little bit. What I did here, I have written little bit of code here. JavaScript object notation dot stringify. This is a function. So for this function, so y function, remove this. So now it is a function. It looks like I told you that whenever parentheses are there, brackets are there, it is a function. So this is the function of JavaScript object notation. So it will be used to forward. This function is used to, so function, any, we can pass any parameter for this function. Here the parameter is what? Your person. So person is a parameter. So this function, what it does, it converts this object parameters, object key value pairs will be displayed. Okay. So what is JavaScript object notation? It is a lightweight format. Okay. To store and share the data. JavaScript object notation, it is a lightweight format to store and to store and share the data. So this function I have used to convert that into these string literals of the properties and values. Okay. So now once I have changed the code like this, now what happened? Now this code is assigned to one variable, and I have passed this variable as a parameter to this inner.html property. Okay. Now you run this code. Now easily you are getting all that string literals. All that is not literals. Okay. All the literals of object. Okay. Here name is John. It is a property and value, key value pair. A is 30. Okay. A is 30. Okay. So like that, we can get the all property values of. Otherwise, we can do, suppose if you don't want to use this get element by ID method, you keep it one like that. Okay. Now here we can do one thing. That is what we can do one thing what we can use here dot document dot write. Write is what? Write is a document dot write, document dot alert. Write is a function. Okay. Inside of this, I can use this code. Okay. You keep this as comment. Now, no need to create any variable here. Directly you pass based on JavaScript object notation dot stringify. Stringify function in bracket keep person. Okay. So now what happened? I don't want to use this get element by ID method. Just simply document dot write. For this write function, I have passed this as a parameter. JavaScript object notation dot stringify. I have passed the object as a for this function as a parameter. Now if I run this code, but I'm not getting here, nothing I am getting here. So that moment, I don't want to use any get element by ID method. Just I want to use write method. Okay, otherwise alert method also. Okay, so that moment I am able to get this type of, these are the property values of your object. So I have not used get element by ID method. I have commented here get element by ID method, but just I have used the right method. So for this method means function, you can say that, okay? And inside of this, I have passed the JavaScript object notation dot stringify person. Okay. No need to create variable text like a variable. Okay. To display the object. Object to display the object property values. Property values. As okay, you want to get display of object property values on the screen. So that moment I have not used it and get a element by ID, just I have used the right function inside of this. Why? Because no need to create any variable. Okay, this is the way. So now I am getting like this. Okay. So one more thing we can also do that. That is what document dot alert also. Alert in bracket. Yeah. For this function, we can pass this JavaScript object notation. It is a lightweight format to share and store the data. Okay. Stringify. Stringify is a function which will be used to convert the. So if you write like this, what happened? You suppose if you have written like this, that moment here, if you omit this bracket, so you will not get anything. Why? Why? Because write is a function inside of this. This is the JavaScript object notation function. So for this write function, one more function I have added. Now here two brackets are there. Okay, so here the person object it is to be closed with one more bracket. Now you will get that. So that is very simple mistakes if we do like that. If you omit this one, you will not get anything. If you pass as a bracket, you will get the things. So that is the thing. Okay, now you keep comment this line of code. Now I can also use document.alert JavaScript object notice stringify person. Here keep the bracket. Okay. Now if you run this, you are not getting anything. Yeah? So, so whether alert it can be used or not, that moment we need to check back that stringify. Alert also one method that can be used to display the objects on the screen. Let me check back that why the. So whenever I have written alert function, so I'm not getting anything. But if I remove this one, what happened? Let us see. So so here see that we are able to see here, but I want to get these property values in this window, result window. Okay. So WW3, this website, w3schools.com says this one. Okay. So this is somewhat a procedures. If I want to display anything, if you want to display anything on the screen, object property values, I can simply use this document dot write. Okay. By document, this is a simple code. No need to use this get element by ID method, and no need to create any variable. Okay, directly you can use, okay, write method. So let us try to understand all of them one by one. First of all, what is JavaScript object notation? Generally, what happens whenever you want to use write method directly to display the object on the screen. So that moment you will get object. You will get object. Okay. You will get object. Why I am not getting here? So open this text. Open this variable. Okay. So now you will get object. See. So that moment, what happened? I have created the object name person, and that person object is defined with some key value pairs. And to display the object property values, I have created a variable, and that variable is assigned with object. Okay, variable is created with let keyword, and then whenever I want to get display of that object, I have used this method get element by ID method. So that moment, if I'm getting like this object, so rather than doing all this, simply no need to create any variable. One is this, omit that code, and no need of this get element by ID method. Simply one line of code. Simply document.write JavaScript object notation dot stringify. It is a function, and pass the object as a parameter to this stringify function. Now, if you run, you will get. So this is okay. Now let us try to understand actually what is going on here. Okay, what is going on here? So somewhat theory we will try to understand. So I want to clear this. Okay. Now here, so that moment, what is going on? Try to understand. When we try to directly display a JavaScript object, if you want to display a directly a JavaScript object by using word document.write object. Okay, we have used that document.write. Okay, and object means a person object or alert object. This is one more way. So at that moment, what happened? The actual data stored inside of the object that will not be shown. The data stored in that object person were these values, key parameters, properties and values. Name is a property, age is a property, city is a property, and John is value, 30 is a value, New York is a value. So these are called property values. Means property is a key value one. It is one key value pair. Okay. So whenever directly, if you want to display JavaScript object by using of document.write object, okay, even though by get element by ID method also, that moment also we are getting object, okay, by get element by ID method also. Otherwise, document dot write object if it is used. Otherwise, alert object. Alert object means person here. You need to write here person. Okay, that object name is what? Person. Okay. So here also person object name is what? Person. Okay. So that moment inside of the object, whatever the data, actual data, that will not be shown. Why? That moment, what happened? Generally, this is the result on the screen we have seen. Okay. So why it happens? JavaScript, it doesn't know how you want to represent the object. JavaScript doesn't know how you want to represent the object. So it's that moment it shows as generic text like this, generic text, indicating that this is an object of type of object. It is a object of object type of object, but it will not show the property and values. So it show a generic text like this, object type of object. Okay. Next means whenever JavaScript because JavaScript doesn't know how we want to represent the object. So it shows generic text. This is the generic text, okay, generic text, which indicates that it is an object of type object. So generally, if I have created one object, JavaScript object by let keyword, object name is person, and two key value pairs have been defined inside of the object. Two property values. This is the property. Each property is called a key. Every property is a key. And this is the value. So two key value pairs have been defined inside of this person object. So if I at that moment document dot write person, if I have used this type of code I have written, output will be like this generic text. So, but I want to display this type of property values on the screen. So if that moment, if you want how to properly display an object with its contents, that moment we should convert it to a string first. First of all, we need to convert this into a string first by this code, JavaScript object notation dot stringify. It converts that into a string. It converts that into a string like this, okay? All will be kept as a string. Even though your property, it is kept, it will be shown as a string, and value also, it will be shown as a string. Your, again, one more property is, but this is what your number. Number will not be shown as a string. The rest of them all will be shown. So it converts this. First of all, we need to convert that into this generic text that is to be converted. This generic text that is to be converted into a string. How? By this JavaScript, this code. So simply document.write JSON stringify person is an object. That moment you will get the result like this, but not the value of numbers. Okay. So by this, what do you mean of this? Object means you printed an object directly, okay, without formatting it. So JavaScript telling us that I have an object here, but I can't show it properly this way. Okay. So that moment, it is very simple to use this code, JavaScript object notation stringify. Object name is what? Person. Object name is person. Okay. So that moment, whatever the data stored in that object as a literals means property value pairs, they will be shown on the screen. So this is the, either you use get element by ID method, otherwise your document.write method. So that moment also you need to do like this. First of all, that generic text to be converted into string by JavaScript object notation. I told you that this is a lightweight format to store the data and also to share the data, JavaScript object notation. But it carries only the text, not code. You need to remember that JavaScript object notation, it carries only the text only. Okay. So the class is closed. As I told you that all these classes are free classes, and the classes are being conducted under my Lakshmi Narayan Krishna Foundation. Thrice a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is the promise I have given to Mother Sri Rajarajeshwari Devi until my last breath of life under my Lakshmi Narayan Krishna Foundation. Thrice a day, thrice a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at sharply 8 p.m. The classes will be conducted in June. So anybody is living in rural areas and they are very far away of network centers and they are not effort to pay expensive class structure fees, they can come into my class. Okay, maybe either Python, Java, as a backend development for front-end HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Okay, other than front end, back end, C, C++, Java, that is what your SQL, and somewhat cloud platforms, Microsoft Azure. So until last breath of life, so every day somewhat new topics will be discussed. Okay. So I hope that this is very good opportunity to all of you who are very rural students and not able to access the network centers because they are on living hilly areas, okay, desert areas. So I hope that these are very useful to you. So you use this opportunity to enhance your coding skills. Jai Hind. Thank you.